somebody who works at NASA. Jarrod Bales, I joked with Jarrod earlier that we once talked to an astronaut in space, but this is really cool. So Jarrod is a University of Florida graduate. You work at the Kennedy Space Center, and there is a connection here which I think I understand, but I want you to explain. First of all, thank you for dropping in.
No, absolutely.
Dropping in from space.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you so much for having me. So I guess I just like to start, so I do work for NASA, but NASA has a lot of different programs. One of them is called NASA's Launch Services Program, which is the program I work for. We call it LSP. We're responsible for launching all of NASA's science and robotic missions. These could be all your Mars rovers, your weather satellites. We even had a mission, which is my personal favorite. It's called DART. It actually sent a spacecraft to slam into an asteroid as a test to see could we push an asteroid out of the way should we ever need to do so. So we focus on the science and robotics side, and it's our job to find the right rocket, the right launch vehicle to get these spacecraft, these satellites to their destination on time and on budget. And so within that, I do education and outreach, and I get to go around and really just make an investment in the future for the agency, for the country. And part of that has been a program that we started called the Student Volunteer Experience, where we target students with unconventional schedules, which those are students who just can't do normal internships. And so student athletes make up a large demographic of that. And that is a program that we started, and we actually had 7 SEC student athletes that came out this year for basically like a 1-week micro internship of sorts. And that gives them the opportunity to kind of have an internship feel. And we did it with UF the first year as well. So that's that program and the connection with the SEC.
So we're seeing some of this right now on our screen. And I mean, I was not a good enough student to get an internship doing anything in college, but I cannot imagine, Jarrod, the idea of getting one of these as a college student to be able to experience what happens as we're watching this right now.
It's pretty wild. It's still shocking each day when I drive out to the Space Center that I get to actually be a part of it. But yes, being in college, for me, I worked on equipment at the University of Florida, so I understand like the schedule and the demanding time schedule that they have. And so they don't get the opportunity to really be a part of organizations to build their resume. They don't get the opportunity to do internships. And so, yeah, it's definitely a big deal, but it's also a big deal for us to be able to have them come out, to be able to invest in them. And they may never work for NASA, or we would love for them to come work for NASA one day, because these students are high-performing individuals. But regardless of whether they come work for us at LSP or they go do something else, we want to make an investment in their life that's going to leave a lasting impact.
I'm saying this to the other people in the other room, but wasn't Josh Dobbs an aerospace engineer?
He was. So Josh Dobbs actually came to the Kennedy Space Center in a similar program, but it was actually with the NFL, and they call it externships. And he did actually spend some time at Kennedy as well, and spent some time with the people in NASA's Launch Services Program. So that's pretty cool.
I mean, he has to be the poster child for that video. So
I think so.
I know. So let's talk about some of the people that have been there and how they've experienced.
Oh man, we've had some amazing students, and each year it's so difficult to pick because the students apply. They're not just selected; they apply. They have to interview. And we started out year 1. We had 2 students from the University of Florida. We had Riley Simons, and then we also had Derek Wingo. Riley is actually student coaching now for UF, which is pretty awesome. And then Derek, I know you know Derek. He came in here for a little bit. And this year we had 3 different schools represented. We had Jack Meyer, we had Leah Selm and Marina Crownover from the University of Missouri. We had Asher Morgan, and we also had Nick Barmira from Mississippi State. And then we had Randy Bond and Jaden Platt from Texas A&M.
So Jarrod, how? I realize most of the time that anybody qualified wouldn't need this PSA from me, but how would you, as a student, get to your program?
Perfect question. It's basically we post it online, and it's open for any students with unconventional schedules. It's posted usually for about a week, and they would apply for that. And once the application is in, we go through, we review the resumes just like a typical internship or a typical job, and then we select the people we'd like to interview. We interview them, and then at the end of that, we make our selection, which is very difficult most of the time. But I think that's one of the unique things about this is these students don't even get that opportunity to build a resume and to interview sometimes. And this is giving them that opportunity to build a resume, to interview, and learn how to go through that process as well.
So this program is for SEC?
Yes, so SEC student athletes is the only ones that we have actually done it with so far.
Smart.
There's some good schools for sure.
These are top-notch young people here, young men and women. So how do you differentiate, and how do you determine, okay, we need that one? I mean, other than the fact that, first, I realize with you making the decision, it's Florida first, right?
Well, we had zero. I want to just point attention. We had no Florida people, unfortunately, this year in our program. We did have some that applied, and we interviewed some, but we went a different direction. But I think it's a good question because they're kind of similar. They're all Division I athletes. They all have a very strict time schedule. But some of the things we do look at is how are they using their free time? Are they volunteering? That's an important thing. What's the leadership aspect of things? Like, are they involved in different leadership opportunities as well? And then also what they're studying. You think NASA, you think scientists, engineers, that's it. But there's so much more than that. You've got your engineers, you have your scientists, which we have some of the world's greatest scientists and engineers. But there's also a lot of other things that go on, like business. So we had 2 students that were business majors that came this year. We have education outreach like mine or public affairs. We had 2 students come for that as well. And so I would say, the volunteering is a big thing, the leadership. And then how do you handle yourself in an interview? How do you conduct yourself? How do you present who you are? And then I think lastly, what we found in the students we selected over the last 2 years is they showed us how they were going to contribute to what we were doing, which I feel like really differentiated them from everybody else.
I am really curious about this because I have the great fortune of meeting a lot of young students who are interested in this, and they always ask me about that. And I'm going to ask you because you're looking for things that the rest of us may not have thought about. So you mentioned the interview, and I'm only asking you this when I start. I'm stealing whatever you tell me, and then I'm going to use it for myself. But so what are you watching for? What is your group watching for in an interview with a student? The do's and don'ts.
Do's and don'ts. That's good. I think obviously you're gonna have some nerves, but you want to see someone who's confident. You want to see someone who it's a how it is in an interview. It's very difficult. It's a fine line between presenting your talents and what you can offer versus being humble as well. And so how well do you do that? We had a student, and I've already told him. I told everybody else. We tell them at the beginning, we say, all right, we're going to show you the questions. Here they are. You take as much time as you need. You look it over. When you're ready, you let us know. We'll begin asking you those questions. One of the students begins to look, and you could see he's making a plan. And I'm sitting, we're doing this virtually. After 10 minutes go by, I reach out to my other colleague. I said, should we start the interview? She said, I think so. And I was about to say, hey, we're going to go and get started. He's like, all right, I'm ready. And so we're like, okay, you took 10 minutes. But he absolutely crushed it. He told stories and gave examples that really bolstered what he was trying to say and sold really his talents and what he was wanting to do. And it's been really cool to watch as he's left. He's continued to make the most of that opportunity because this same student has actually been setting up regular appointments with our senior launch director. And he was actually a business student, but he's just like, I want to learn more about leadership. I want to learn more about interviews. And so I think that's really cool is also, a lot of these students, they show that they have this capacity and this passion for wanting to learn. And that is evident when they came out. They're all taking notes, and they just want to be better. And I think that's a really big thing in an interview is what are they wanting to get out of it and what are they wanting to give to
Jarrod, what is the fine line as you're interviewing between exuding confidence and leadership and then crossing that line? Because it's hard for anyone once they start talking and you're trying to sell yourself. A lot of times there's a tendency to not be able to pull back and let what they've done speak for themselves.
I think a simple thing is being thorough yet concise, and then provide an example. Don't just tell me, hey, I'm good at this. How are you good at this? Like, what have you done to show that? Okay. Is there an example, within your team? Is there an example within your volunteer experience? Is there an example with something in a class? Or maybe it's just a struggle that you went through and you learned something. So just showing examples, being thorough but concise.
I want to go off script here as we wrap up.
Go for it.
You've given me a lot of really good ideas. So is it possible, and I know I should have run this by your team, but could we send some of our callers down to NASA? Maybe you could work with them.
That would be awesome.
They are not concise.
Hey, listen, I would love to have all of SEC Network. You guys come down to the Kennedy Space Center and we'll have a good old time.
Because I'm supposed to be an expert and people love to lavish praise, but there's some people that call in the show that I can't control. And I think they would be.
I've seen
perfect.
a couple of them before.
And one more thing, Jarrod, when we send a couple of these people down, I know I probably should say this off the air. Could you put them on the next shuttle and get them out of here?
No, I don't know. There's a pretty long line of people who actually want to get on that next rocket.
Well, those people want to come back. These are one-way tickets.
I don't know about all of that, Paul. That'll be something you'll have to take care of.
Well, you tell me the person I need to talk to. Jarrod Bales, what an absolute delight. This is such an extraordinary program that benefits obviously young students in the SEC, but as well as NASA. So
Absolutely. It's been awesome to get to be a part of the program, and again, just to get to see these students come and really make the most of the opportunity. And you watch them leave, and they're continuing to excel in the things that they're doing, not just in sports, but you have Derek Wingo, you've got Nick Barmira is on the Werfel Award list and semifinalist of the Werfel Award. You've got Randy Bond, he's on the watch list for the Lou Groza Award. So it's just awesome. These are very well-rounded individuals, and we're just so grateful that they chose to spend a week of their time with us at NASA.
And just to show you how much we respect you, we did not ask you about the Gators this year in football.
You did not, but hey, I think they might surprise some people.
Okay, that's a very savvy answer.
I think they might.
I like that. I can see now how you've, in just a very short time, advanced. Jarrod, thank you very much.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, Paul.
This was so much fun. Jarrod Bales. We will talk to some of those callers that we're going to put on the next shuttle right after this.